Alright, this is going to be a quick tutorial on drawing lines and creating an animation for a line in p5js so that it shows it being drawn out. So first we're going to set ourselves up with a way to draw the lines and store them in an array. So we're going to store each point of the line in an array, and then we're going to draw that. Down the road you might want a way to import lines in this format or something from like maybe an SVG or something like that. But for now I'm just gonna keep it kind of simple. So function mouse pressed, or we can actually just do, so function mouse pressed fires once each time the mouse is clicked essentially, like so when it's first clicked down, function will run once. So that's good for like booleans and stuff, like switching some factors that would control something if you wanted to say like you're starting drawing, so when the mouse is pressed. But we're just going to do if mouse is pressed, which is that'll return true or false based on if the mouse is currently being held. So rather than a click one time, it's like this is checking on every loop of the draw cycle, is the mouse pressed. If it is, we're going to do line dot push another array that contains mouse x, mouse y. Good. And then we're going to for I equals 0, I less than line dot length I plus plus. So for each point that we stored in our line array, we want to draw it. So we're actually going to use, drawing a bunch of lines can be costly in terms of performance, but using begin shape, end shape is a lot faster. So we're going to do that. For each line, for each point we want to draw, it'll be a vertex. So line of I. And line of I is returning that array that holds the mouse x, mouse y. So we want the first one, the x value, and the y value. Let's see what we get. Nice. Okay, so we can draw lines. And then we don't want a fill. So there's no fill. No fill. Alright. So now we can draw a line. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to go function mouse released. And then we're going to I was thinking of console logging line and then like using that so we can copy and paste it or something, but I might just do, I don't know, or maybe I'll do a button. I don't know how I want to go about drawing it, like triggering the draw. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. So when you release the mouse, it'll redraw your line. We'll just do that. So for that, we will do something like this. When the mouse is released, so this is going to trigger once when the mouse is released. So let's have a boolean. We'll say like let draw line equal false. So if not draw line, so when we our first, this might be a confusing way. I'll say animate line, way to say that. Animate line. So if we don't want the line to be animated, then we can assume, yeah, we're just drawing the line. So we're going to let people draw their line. And then when they finish drawing the line, the second they release their mouse, it's going to trigger this function, which is going to change animate line to be equal to true. Oh, and actually I wanted this. Okay, so if it's pressed, animate line is false, because the person is drawing. And if it's released, animate line is true. Else, so if animate line is true, then we're going to do something with a count variable. So we'll say let count equals 0. And then we're going to say for I equals 0. It's basically the same thing here. So no fill should apply to both. Whoops. This no fill should apply to both scenarios, so I'm going to put it in there, or out of the that top if statement. And we want this again, but this time we're going from I not to line length, but to count. And each time we're going to say count plus plus. And then if mouse is pressed, we're going to reset count to 0. Boom. Okay, something happened here. Something is not defined. Yeah, that makes sense because count kept going. Count kept going after count was bigger than line.length. So if count is less than line.length, then we increment its value. So now we can draw a line, and boom. And I want to make sure, actually, when I press, we want to reset line so that the person can draw a new line. And I realized it was dumb to call it line because line is actually a built-in p5 function, but we're not using line in this, so it's okay, I guess. We're using begin shape, end shape, so we can get away with it. But if I were to do this again, I definitely wouldn't use that as a variable. And there you go. So that's how you can animate a line in p5js.